Okay, when you buy a rental, are you going to actually make wealth off the cash flow of a rental property? Is it going to work, right? You hear all the pitches, cash flow. A lot of people get into real estate through the rich dad world, right? Rich dad, poor dad, cash flow quadrant, all those things. But is it going to work on a house, right? I mean, nowadays, there's a lot of houses where the cash flow is tiny and you're just like, is this going to work? So let's step back in time for a moment. I got into this over a decade and a half ago. A decade and a half ago, houses were much cheaper, taxes were cheaper, insurance was cheaper, construction costs was cheaper, labor was cheaper, everything was cheaper. And yeah, the rents were lower, but not that much lower. Today, yes, rents are higher, no doubt about it. But all those things I just listed, taxes, insurance, labor, uh, materials, all of that is more. Well, that's four things versus income one. 4 to 1, those are not even odds. And I will tell you, for a lot of properties, the expense impact is higher than the rental increase. Are there exceptions? Of course, there's always exceptions, which is why you must look at things case by case. Notice I didn't say HOAs, right? Which, they'll kill a lot of deals alone just with their fees, right? So you got to look at things case by case to see, does the cash flow make sense? Nowadays, all you need is one moderate thing to break and it'll wipe out a year of cash flow in a heartbeat. For example, an air conditioner, or maybe you got to change out a few windows. It'll wipe out a year of cash flow, in some cases 2 years, just like that. So you've got to really hone in on what this property needs, what kind of deferred maintenance, to see, is this cash flow going to make it worth it? Because here's the thing, when we bought properties over a decade ago, we had plenty of room to appreciate. Today, properties are much more expensive. Are we really going to see that much appreciation in the next 5, 10 years? I don't know the answer. You don't know the answer. The reality is, we can hear everything we want from the market. We just don't know what's going to happen. Okay, if you go back to the last crash, right, things were shooting up, and then the '08 crash happened, and then everything just fell off a cliff. Will we see something even remotely like that again? We don't know. Most people will say no, but at the end of the day, we don't know, right? It's a very dynamic world. So, obviously we make our money, our big money on rentals via appreciation, but you just got to look at where your starting point is. Okay, if you're buying a $300,000-400,000 house and it's like the top of an appreciation curve, is that going to be a $600,000-700,000 house in 5, 10 years? I don't know. We'll see. But you got to be careful, because there's a big difference between that example and something that's worth 150 going to 300. It's a lot easier for something to go from 150 to 300 than it is from 500 to 700. Okay, in a lot of markets. Okay, why? There's just a lot more people at the lower end of the price point scale. It's as simple as that. As the price goes up, there's less buyers. That's will always be the case. Now, what about short-term rental or mid-term rental? Because I know some of you are thinking that, well, Frank, if the long-term rental doesn't make sense, we'll just Airbnb it, because that's what everybody says. And the reality is, it doesn't always work that way. Why? Some markets simply don't have the demand. Some of them, and it could be for a number of reasons. It could be safety. It could be there's not a lot of fun stuff to do there. Like, there's all sorts of things. It could be, ordinance regulated, where some places they don't want you to have short-term rentals at all, and they regulate them out. So you can't just assume that's going to work. It will absolutely work in some places, and you can really increase your income by doing it well in some places, but you cannot assume that. And then, of course, there's still this thing called expenses, right? And management and so forth. And everyone says, oh, well, you can outsource it. Well, yeah, you can, but that has a cost too, right? And I didn't mention property management when I mentioned the four earlier. So that would be, make it 5 to 1, right? In that scenario. So short-term rental absolutely can work, but not everywhere and not at all times. You got to dig in deeper. What about midterm rental? Same kind of thing. In certain places, it will work, but not all places. And now I already know what the next one is, pad split. Well, pad split is great too in certain places with certain markets, certain clienteles. Moral of the story, just because a property has strategies available does not mean it will work. And this will directly impact what you can do with that property over the next few years, which ultimately answers the whole point of this video. Is a property worth trying to cash flow to build wealth while the appreciation builds? Right? And so you can't look at like things in little pieces. You got to look at the totality of where's this market going? Where's this property, this immediate local area going? What are the strategies available to me? What are those strategies still going to be viable? And by the way, if you want to be really conservative, if for some reason the rental doesn't work out, do you have a backup exit strategy to get out of the deal? So these are the things you got to keep in mind. Okay. A lot of things will work great. A lot of them will not. Account for contingencies, account for time, account for things happening that you haven't even thought of that could happen, and then see how it plays out. No different than buying a flip, no different than wholesaling the deal. Stay conservative, 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 conservative. And I'll leave you with one more thought. Rents do not always go up. In fact, in some markets, rents have come down, and in some cases, I've seen 20, 25%. When you're dealing with some of these numbers, that is not a small amount of money. If you're Airbnb something somewhere and the municipality says no more Airbnb, you have what's called a major problem potentially. So be conservative, be conservative, be conservative. Long-term rentals work, short-term works, midterm works. Just be smart about it. Go for the cash flow. Make sure you have adequate cash flow for the property or service itself, and keep risk to a minimum. So, hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Feel free to reach out. I'll see you around.